Hey guys, welcome to my favorite Range Rogue beginner-friendly early game build. This is pretty simple. I'm going to quickly explain what's on our skill bar, but we have Shadow Imbuement, which imbues our weapon with Shadow. If we kill a mob with it, it'll explode, so it's AoE damage. We have Dash, which is our mobility on our W. We have Dark Shroud, which is a buff, just gains damage reduction and critical strike chance as long as we have it. Every time someone hits us, we lose one of them. And the R slot will be for your ultimate, but I'm just using a placeholder right now because I'm only level 20 in the beta. I do not have access to the ultimate. And we have Puncture and Rapid Fire for our basic generator and spender. If you want a more complete, detailed explanation, that'll be at the end of the video for all the skills. But I'm just going to take you through a quick dungeon run here. And it's really very simple. You can use the dash for mobility, right? And as soon as you see a clump of enemies, you can just vulnerable the first one and then alternate with your rapid fire, and you can see everything dies super quickly. Super simple. The reason you want to vulnerable the first one is not only does it make it easier to kill, but rapid fire also gains energy back when it hits a vulnerable target. So as you can see, slow and steady. When you see clumps of enemies, you can use the explosion of the shadow poison and just quickly move through the dungeon that way. If there's only one target, you can just quickly rapid fire and get rid of one target without the poison and save it for packs of mobs here. You can see we're up against an elite, but it's really not a big problem. Everything is going down pretty smoothly. Try to keep our Dark Shroud refreshed to get the maximum crit chance. One elite here. Don't have to use our poison. We'll keep on moving. Now that we see more, we can use the poison and just blast them all to pieces. So very fluid. The rapid fire is really good single target damage, and you amplify that with the shadow poison, which is really good AoE damage. So the shadow poison kind of makes this build good for both mob clearing and boss clearing, because without it, rapid fire does kind of struggle against packs of mobs, but with it, you can see packs of mobs are no problem. Neither are single target elites, bosses, or really anything else. And if you like playing range rogue, this is the build that I have had the most success with. I feel like a lot of people have been complaining about range rogue. A lot of people have been saying that it doesn't really feel good, which can happen if you're not really good with your build. So this is easily one of the builds that I played that I enjoyed the most. And as you can see, we're cruising through the dungeon here, and it's the hardest difficulty available in the beta, World Tier 2, and we have essentially no trouble. We're basically one or two shotting everything, and it's just pretty easy pickings overall, right? So very cool build. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you were looking to play a range rogue, definitely recommend you guys try this build. In the earlier levels, it's actually free or close to free to respec, so you can easily try as many different builds as you want to in the early levels. And even later game, it should be possible to, respec. So feel free to try whatever build you guys like. And yeah, I hope you guys will have as much fun playing this build as I did in the beta. Alright. That's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, I didn't use the R button because it's just a placeholder. When you get to level 25, this will be your ultimate. So whatever ultimate you want, you can just put it in the R slot instead. And the basic gameplay pattern is just alternating puncture and rapid fire. And as long as you're rapid firing a vulnerable enemy, you can actually spam this skill quite a bit before you run out of mana. You can see my mana bar is barely going down as long as I'm hitting the vulnerable target, which puncture gives you. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, what's up? Fan here again, and today I'm sharing with you guys a build that was my favorite range rogue build in the most recent Diablo 4 beta. Now that Diablo will be coming out soon, I know a lot of people might be looking into builds and thinking about what they want to play. And overall, with a lot of experimenting, this build was one of the smoothest and just most fun builds for me while I was playing range rogue. So without further ado, let's get into it. Very good upside about the build is it's very simple too. It's very beginner friendly, nothing too complicated in either the skills or in the gameplay. So you can pick it up pretty easily. First, we're going to start off with puncture, and then we're going to go into enhanced puncture and fundamental puncture. The reason we do this is because fundamental puncture will make whoever we hit vulnerable as long as we hit them with 2 out of 3 blades. Now, when you're clearing PvE, this will just be probably on the first mob in front of the pack, or when you're clearing bosses, this makes the boss permanently vulnerable, so it's very, very useful. And combined with that, we're going to take rapid fire maxed out here, and we're going to go enhanced rapid fire and improved rapid fire. Now, this one gives you energy back every time you hit a vulnerable enemy, and everyone we hit should pretty much be vulnerable because of our fundamental puncture. So you can see kind of how the build is synergizing together around vulnerability. Basically, we just want to use our puncture followed by the rapid fire to get both of those synergies. And we just alternate between the two. Now, after that, we're going to go to the agility tier, and I think as range, you really only need one movement. So I am only going to take dash. If you already have something that gives you a point into dash like I do, some other piece of equipment, you don't even need to skill it. But if you don't have any of that, then 1 point into dash gives you 2 charges of your dash, which is very good for 1 point. Gives you a lot of mobility to maneuver around. Next, I'm going to max out Weapon Mastery, which just does extra damage to vulnerable enemies or increase critical strike damage depending on whether you have a bow or a crossbow. Either way, it's basically just more damage. Also synergizes with the vulnerable, of course, so a further vulnerable synergy in the build. Moving on to subterfuge skills, we're going to go into Dark Shroud, Enhanced Dark Shroud, and Countering Dark Shroud. Now, this tier has been nerfed since the most early betas. It used to be 2 shadows, I believe, and 10% crit chance. Now it's 4 and 8. However, I think it is still pretty good when you're playing range rogue, because when you're playing range rogue, it's hard for the enemies to hit you, which means you should be able to keep your shadows alive, and you should be able to get this critical strike chance most of the time. 8% is still very strong. On top of that, we're going to go 3 points into Exploit. I think Exploit is an extremely good passive for doing more damage. You deal more damage to healthy and injured enemies. Healthy means more than 80, injured means less than 35. So combined, you're going to do 18% more damage around 55% of the time. Except it's even more than that because, every single time you hit someone with full HP, every time you open onto a mob, you will get this bonus damage. And a lot of the time, you'll just one-shot them if they're not an elite or a boss. So very good talent for Exploit. We're going to take that as well. And finally, we are going to go into Shadow Imbuement, Enhanced Shadow Imbuement. If you have more points to spare, you can also take Blended Shadow Imbuement. This is on the most recent beta where we're only level 20, so I don't have enough points to take everything. However, you can also go into Blended if you have more points, if you're playing in the actual launch of the game. And lastly, we don't have the points to go to the ultimate, but if you were going to take an ultimate, you would take either Shadow Clone and fully upgrade it, or you can take Rain of Arrows and fully upgrade it as well. So Rain of Arrows would be more for PvE, more for kind of AoE attacks against many mobs, whereas Shadow Clone would excel a little bit better against single targets. So if you're looking to kill bosses, go Shadow Clone. If you just want to do a lot of runs and do a lot of AoE clears, you can do Rain of Arrow with this build. Lastly, for your specialization, you're going to go combo point with this specialization. And it should all come together and be a pretty smooth and responsive experience. You can take a look at the attached gameplay footage to this video to see how this plays. And thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next video.